Lightyear will live or die by the Zurg Twist. And now we can finally talk about it. I heard about this months ago, and part of me felt there was no way they were going to actually go through with it, because I think it absolutely destroys Zurg for commercial purposes. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's discuss. So back in Toy Story 2, Lightyear and Zurg already parodies Star Wars' iconic I am your father moment. So obviously the team at Pixar felt they needed to somehow top that reveal, but yet stay in the same vein, I guess, for the new Lightyear movie. And they came up with Zurg is actually Buzz himself. I know, an older version who didn't learn any of the lessons that Buzz does during this movie. Basically, he's Clint Eastwood, talking to that chair, but instead it's a bunch of robots. And Buzz, looking in the mirror at who he would have become if not for his new friends, doesn't like what he sees. But to be fair, old Buzz doesn't like the way young Buzz is thinking either. It's a gutsy move on the part of Pixar, and in an effort to be able to say Buzz is fighting himself to the awards campaign voters, Zurg as a villain, as I said, is basically destroyed for commercial purposes. How are you going to go on Space Ranger spin and open fire on Zurg when you realize that's Buzz himself who needs help, who's gone down the wrong path? Or has he? I mean, the world is heavily divided right now, and in this movie, Buzz is shown to awaken ideologically. Some of you would use a different term for it that I really don't like, but you would. But anyway, this is like if you were able to get a time machine and go back to help your argumentative grandfather at holiday gatherings, go back and meet him when he was younger to help him better understand today's issues. But what if you agree with what Grandpa's saying at the dinner table? Where does that put you then? Is Zurg, who was revealed in an end credit scene, it's just really quick. I even missed it at my screening. One of you filled me in who just recently saw it, that he's floating in space and the lights on his suit go back on. So he's still in play. Is this Zurg, old Buzz, suddenly going to become a conservative hero versus the now liberal younger Buzz? Who needs that kind of discourse injected into Toy Story? I guess Pixar does. I mean, I don't want this in here. We have to deal enough with that in the real world. People just want to sit back and enjoy these movies. I mean, Pixar has fought very hard for a lot of ideological wins with this movie, but they forgot to put in enough action scenes and comedy. And if you don't do that, it hurts the ideological wins because the box office is damaged, and then the people who don't like the ideological wins say, hey, look, see, that's a problem. So it's a problem. But like I said, I really enjoyed this movie, so let's talk about what I liked about it. Do I agree with everything that Buzz learns? Not necessarily, and some of the lessons I'm still grappling with. I think that's why I had such a weird time watching it. I was like, what are you saying? Are you saying what I think you're saying? That's fascinating. I've never seen anyone put it like that before. For instance, I now appreciate participation trophies. I'm like, everyone should get a trophy because it'll give them a feeling that they should continue and work their way up to bigger trophies. So I don't even want to say a participation trophy isn't a real trophy, because I can see from this movie the importance of showing up. And I broke that down a lot in my first reaction video, which I hope you've already seen, and if you haven't, please go check that out for that discussion. But here, I want to talk about some of the other messages in the movie that we can explore more in a spoiler review. So the whole setup for the film is that Buzz, so self-assured, not only does he make decisions all by himself. By the way, I can't believe that he directed an entire colony of people to check out a new planet without asking anyone. I was like, you aren't going to wake up anyone, Buzz? He's just like, sure, let's go look at this new planet. I'd be like, isn't there like a committee that would have to make this decision? But anyway, he also refuses to ask for help even when other people are awake. By the way, with an entire colony of humans moving to another planet, there's only 2 space rangers on board? That makes no sense. Oh, and 1 rookie, by the way. Whatever happened to that rookie? He never shows up again after the opening sequence. Did Buzz make him quit? Right? Maybe they couldn't afford Bill Hader, who does that voice, and you can't tell, for more than a day of voice work. They were like, that's enough. It was weird, though, and it's an example of how this movie is sometimes very sloppy, particularly with its world building and its like time travel and time jumping structure. They keep saying, I watched the behind the scenes documentary and they were like, someone else could explain it better. And I'm like, please go find that person, because I don't think this makes any sense. All right, so anyway, along the same lines, Another thing that doesn't make sense about this movie, if this is Andy's favorite film that made him want to go and get a Buzz Lightyear toy, and the director, writer, co-writer is going around saying, no, it was the animated series based off of this movie that wanted him to go and get the toy. And you're like, that's insane that you would have to remove it like that. But I don't care. In the movie, the opening crawl says it was this film that Andy loved. So why doesn't he have a socks toy? Or an Alisha or Izzy action figure? Make it make sense. All right, but I still liked it, even though these things make no sense. All right, so anyway, Buzz refuses to ask for help. So when he's piloting the ship to try to escape this new planet, which turns out is hostile, of course it is, if only Buzz knew he was in a sci-fi movie, he accidentally crashes and damages the ship. So they're stranded. He strands the entire colony on this harsh planet. What a mistake! And everyone seems to get over it. I would think some people would have held a grudge, been like, oh, that's the guy who stranded us on this crap planet when we were headed to paradise. Were there other people that they were supposed to meet up there? I mean, they really make it seem like, no biggie, we'll just park here. It's a big problem. All right, so anyway, Buzz doesn't get discharged because they largely need someone to fly really difficult and dangerous missions to try and crack crystallic fusion using the planet's resources, because Buzz damaged their crystal, so that's why they're stuck here. In a Pixar movie, so Buzz is forgiven, but I like the fact that if this were a darker movie, his punishment for doing this would basically be put on a suicide squad. With Alisha Hawthorne being like Amanda Waller. That's funny. I like that. Now, after the first test, they're like, oh my God, every time Buzz does a test mission, while it only is 4 minutes for him, everyone on the planet experiences 4 years. Now, the filmmaker said that they felt this was a metaphor for filmmaking, as it takes about 4 years to make an animated movie, because when they come back up for air and rejoin the real world, they have this same feeling. And I was like, really? You don't go home for dinner at least a couple of nights a week? Or how about on the weekends, right? You just check out of your personal life for 4 years? The people you know in your life are saints to put up with that. Like, you're all like that? You all have that bad a balance of work and personal life? I mean, to me, it smacks a bit of hubris when I heard that the filmmakers imagine themselves as Buzz in this scenario. Because I'm like, look, Buzz doesn't age, but you're still aging during the 4-year time jumps while you make the movie. So while Buzz is only sacrificing his connections because he's not aging, these filmmakers, if this is the way they operate, are sacrificing, if not wasting, their personal lives. So I had a whole problem with that. I was like, you should maybe go to family counseling if that's how you see this. All right. So Buzz watches his best friend and fellow space ranger Alisha's life fly by while he's sort of stuck. And she builds a whole life, both professionally as the planet's military leader and personally, meeting a scientist and having a son who has his own family, and she then has a granddaughter. Basically, Alisha makes lemonade out of lemons, being stuck on this planet, while Buzz can't get over the fact they've got a giant lemon, in large part because he's the one who gave them the lemon. And that's where Zurg Old Buzz comes in. Let's circle back to that. He's finally perfected time travel, and there's no explanation, at least not one that makes any sense or even registers with me, as to how the timeline split to create 2 Buzzes in the first place. They're like, there are 2 Buzzes, get over it, this movie's not that long. But in developing time travel, because he does develop it, old Buzz used up his crystal. So he needs young Buzz's crystal to now use time travel and go back in time and make it so that he never strands them on this planet, undoing his initial mistake. I'm like, I don't know, the way you put it, it seems like Buzz made a lot of mistakes before this. All right, so anyway, now young Buzz realizes that if old Buzz does that, Alisha will have never met her wife, who she met after the crash. And so therefore their son will never be born, and Izzy, who Buzz has gotten to know, will never have existed either. So the point is driven, and that point, by the way, is driven home by Izzy, because Buzz is like, I feel so bad that I never got Alisha back into space. She never got to be a space ranger again before she died. Of course she dies. It's a Pixar movie. That was so sad. It even made Buzz cry. But anyway, that was cute. I liked his man tears, the way they handled that. So anyway, Izzy says, what are you talking about? My grandma lived a great life, and she was very happy. And I think that was true. I thought that was really great. And so Buzz, correctly, is like, I don't feel comfortable wiping out Alicia's timeline. Not only because I can't ask her, but also it will get rid of Izzy and Alicia's whole family. And what about wiping out the timelines of all the other colonists who've gone on to live lives on this planet? Those will all just be wiped away. So I thought that was a very compelling problem and one that you often don't think about in time travel. I think because it's a Pixar movie, you know, I appreciate the positivity of the Back to the Future franchise. So anyway, I mean, no one was like, oh man, now these kids in Back to the Future 2 will never exist. All right, so anyway, I guess it's because you'll just be different versions and they'll just be better versions. Whereas here, they won't exist because, the meeting point will be ruined. That's interesting. I think that's the difference. But anyway, the idea that it's too late to fix a serious mistake and that no matter how bad the situation was, Alisha, forced to live the rest of her life on this crappy planet, the things she'd gained because of that mistake, a wife, a son, and a granddaughter, they just meant too much to her and to Buzz to give up. That was fascinating to me. Like to think about, even if you have a regret in life, if changing it would mean losing some of the things that you've gained, would you do that? That to me, I really thought that really was like, whoa, love it. It's a strong commentary on pushing forward rather than living in the past. I loved that element of the film. All right, now, so let's discuss some of the lighter elements of the movie, like a meat sandwich. Oh, I loved this. As someone who has stopped eating sandwiches because they have too much bread, I will occasionally eat an open-faced sandwich. I thought this was fantastic. I was like, we should do this for real. Sandwiches have been pretty much the same since they first came onto the scene, like in the 18th century. But considering how fast things are changing these days, and that we know how bad carbs and sugars are for you today, I mean, Subway bread has so much sugar in it, it's not even technically bread. I love that. So I can totally see the meat sandwich catching on. I would love to get a meat sandwich at a Disney theme park and wash it down with a Crystallic Fusion slushie. Make it happen, Disney, and I believe they fully intend to because of the way these things were presented in the film. Now I'd like to talk about 3 of the characters from the film that I also really thought were special. Socks. That this character is voiced by Pixar's Peter Sohn, who's going on to direct their upcoming Elemental movie. That he's not a professional voice actor blows my mind. I think at this point he is a professional voice actor. He's fantastic. Socks is a hoot. From the knockout darts that come out of his mouth, Buzz was like, was that meant for me if I got out of line? That was great. To asking for something a bit more challenging than chasing an electric mouse, a robotic mouse, and solving Crystallic Fusion over the years while Buzz time jumps unsuccessfully. That was great. But Buzz is like, how are you doing, Socks? And he's like, I solved Crystallic Fusion. That was great. Socks perfectly captures why people love cats and is the superior space cat to the MCU Flurkin. Although I hear the Flurkin have some pretty good tricks up their sleeve or under their tails in the Marvels, in the next Captain Marvel movie. Then Alisha Hawthorne. As I said in my non-spoiler review, what an awesome female action hero. Not just because she's a great hero, because she's good in the field, but she's a great leader. Oh, I thought she was great. Uzo Aduba does a fantastic job giving Alisha life, a strong yet kind voice, the voice of a true leader. I hope that Alisha Hawthorne, that statue, which I thought was so moving, because, there's been a discussion about female statues, and I don't think they're as cool as male statues. I think the women aren't portrayed as in positions of power. And I thought that was a great female statue. I would love, too bad it's for a fictional character, but it's a start. And I would love to see that when they redo the Space Ranger spin attraction. I'd love to see that incorporated. All right, the next up, then of course there's Izzy, her granddaughter. Keke Palmer is having one heck of a summer with this and then Nope in July, where so far she is dominating the trailers with infectious personality. I think that's going to be a star turn for her, I hope. But here, Palmer shows range with a more subtle, softer performance. And I thought her spacewalk scene was the stuff of great sci-fi. I was on the edge of my seat for that. What a great scene. And I felt a live action actress of color would be so happy to get a scene like that, and they so rarely have those opportunities. It was fantastic. Izzy is also a shining example of one of the film's core messages. Heroes aren't born, they're made. And to become as good as her grandmother, Izzy simply has to commit and put in the time. I love that. And you could see that she didn't even finish her journey here. And I really thought that was great. Finally, I love the final scene in the film where Buzz and his new team, this team of misfits, get in their ship as the new Space Ranger Corps. And as they were getting ready to launch, the way they looked like action figures sitting in a toy ship, and the way everything moved and even the way they jiggled in the ship when it got into position, they felt like toys to me. That was so great. It made me want Lightyear toys and Lightyear stuff. I thought it was just fantastic. So how about you? Do you want any Lightyear toys or elements in the theme parks? And what do you think of the Zurg Twist and the film's many messages? You don't have to like them all. Do you like some of them? Maybe you like them all like me. All right, share those thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.